Lighter than a feather, flowing in the weather. Hearts beating loud, cause we are together. Lighter than a feather, flowing in the weather. Hearts beating loud, cause we are together. We're looking up at the stars, I got you all in my arms. Nervous cause I'm with you tonight. Angel from the heavens, got all of the sevens. Lucky to have you by my side. Our eyes meet and time has stopped. Felt like it was just the two of us. Our hearts are dancing to the loudest beat, and our hearts are forever inside of me. I'll shout your name, 'cause you are all I need. So come with me, I promise I will never leave. Baby, I am wanting you more, 'cause I have never felt this way before. All our problems disappeared in autumn. When I met you, it made my heart blossom. Laughing all night and drinking till tomorrow. Wishing our time will never end in sorrow. Our eyes meet and time has stopped. Felt like it was just the two of us. Hearts are dancing to the loudest beat, and our hearts are forever inside of me. I'll shout your name, 'cause you are all I need. So come with me, I promise I will never leave. Lighter than a feather, flowing in the weather. Hearts beating loud, 'cause we are together. Lighter than a feather, flowing in the weather. Hearts beating loud, 'cause we are together.
Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in for day 2 of Starry Nite Arts Festival. If you didn't join us last night, thank you for coming today. That was actually one of the songs, Hearts, by one of the artists yesterday, last night, AJ. So I just want to go ahead and introduce myself. Again, hi, my name is Ria Sampillo, she, her pronouns, second generation Filipino American, and I'm currently based in Houston. I'm a part of the OCA Arts and Storytelling Committee, and I also organize for the Filipinx community here in Houston as well, under Filipino American Unity for Progress. And enough about me. I want to hand it over to my co-host, co-MC, co-organizer, Trisha Morales. Ooh,
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in again. My name is Trisha Morales, she, her pronouns, and I am a 1.5 generation Filipino American based in Houston, Texas. I organize for the Filipinx community with Unipro as the marketing director. I'm also the organizer for Starry Nite Arts Festival and one of your MCs for the night. Y'all, we have such an amazing lineup. I'm so excited to be introducing all of them to you. But before we begin and before we talk about Starry Nite Arts Fest, I would love to highlight someone who is doing all the behind the scenes work, behind the scenes in the live stream production. This event would not be possible without her. So everyone, please welcome Maria Duran.
What's up? Day 2, y'all. So thank you y'all for for letting me be part of this event and have fun with this project. And I can't wait to see all the performances, because even though I've been behind the scenes, I'm also trying to like not really watch as much so I can enjoy it as well with everybody. But it's been fun, and everybody has to tune into everything that's in store for the rest of the week. So I'll go back to the controls, and I'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Maria. Before we begin Starry Nite Arts Fest, and we're going to be doing this for our lives. I want to make sure we want to take a moment for a land acknowledgement. So I want to begin situating myself, and I want to share that I am continuously learning and recognizing my own place in history and colonization, working to unlearn any actions and behaviors that may silence others or perpetuate systemic oppression. I want to take part and also encourage all of you to uplift and connect with the cultural legacies that existed and continue to exist today. Within the festival theme of giving, we mentioned that we want to give space to unheard voices. This is our first step in doing that throughout the festival. We acknowledge that we occupy stolen land. The lands that make up Texas are the home of the Alabama Coshada tribe of Texas, the Kickapoo traditional tribe of Texas, the Isleta del Sur Pueblo, the Lipan Apache tribe, the Texas Band of Yaqui Indians. There are many more groups in Texas that are not mentioned, which means they are excluded from financial aid and resources. We acknowledge the many systemic erasure of these tribes and recognize they're still among us today. We acknowledge the peoples of these nations, their cultures, their communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as the future generations. We acknowledge and offer deep gratitude to the land and waters in which we stand upon. If not in Texas, at the moment, you can find whose land you are occupying here at nativeland.ca, our home, our native land. Thank you so much for taking that moment with us. And I want to hand it over to Trish for OCA's mission and vision.
So OCA Greater Houston's mission and vision is to advance the social, political, economic well-being of the AAPI community. We do this in many various programs. We're going to show you a quick recap video of everything that we've done through the years. Yes, we do so much, y'all. Like it's it's beautiful, but also a lot of work. So let me talk about this year a little bit. So this year, we launched Asian Restaurant Weeks, where we featured different AAPI local restaurants from mom and pop shops, restaurant owners and chefs. And we were also part of the team that raised $100,000 to feed frontline workers while also providing revenues for the restaurants. In June, we had Happy Film Fest. It's a multi-day celebration of film. This year was virtual. And again, it was to promote the AAPI Creatives in the film and entertainment industry. Throughout the entire year, our team worked with high school and college youth to support leadership development. We also had our amazing lit dropping team that outreached to over 150 homes for the census and voting. We had our racial justice workshops where we used film to have deeper dialogue with our community. And lastly, we have the program that you guys are currently watching, which is the Starry Nite Arts Festival. Please go to ocahouston.org to see all of our programs. And Ria, please go over the mission and vision for Starry Night.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trish. I appreciate you reviewing all of OCA's wonderful programs. So Starry Night, the mission and vision is to locate Bel Air Asiatown as the AAPI cultural destination for the arts. And through this programming, highlighting all the performers, artists, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. And, pre-COVID, we were all gathered on Corporate Drive, and it was, essentially a night market, right? Where all the community would come together with food, music, artists, and performers. And, now everything, as you know, has shifted virtually. So this is a wonderful opportunity for, of course, us to look inward, but, and have, these deeper conversations, during these unprecedented times. Like, community partners have been, continuously working, continuously supporting, and doing work in the community. Artists, performers, spoken word artists have been also giving their time and their energy to uplift folks during this time as well. And, essentially what this festival is just to remind everyone that we see you, and and this is a thank you for all the work that you've been doing during these times, right? And with that, we wanted to frame the theme this year around the theme of giving. And what does it mean to give, right? Not only to give outwardly in your energy outwardly, but also taking into consideration to give back to yourself, right? So during this festival, we ask all the participants, those who submitted, to answer the question, how and what ways do you embody giving, right? So we're going to see that throughout the whole festival this whole week. And so now it's in terms of the concepts, we wanted to move the audience through the 4 concepts of giving. So last night we did giving back to the community. Today we're doing giving up old habits, and in the upcoming programming, we're going to be giving space for unheard voices and giving yourself time to heal. So those are the 4 concepts. I'm going to be handing it off to Trish to explain even further how that's going to look like throughout the festival.
Thank you, Ria, for explaining our intention, our mission, vision, and the 4 concepts, because I feel like people need to know our why, as well as in every space, it's important to ground yourself in your why. So now I'm going to go over our schedule from December 11th through the 20th. Y'all, we have so much in store, for real, so much. Go support all these amazing artists, organizers, authors, business owners, musicians. All right, so today we have our lineup of Giving Up Old Habits from 6 to 8:30. You saw that beautiful picture earlier with Jenah, Tito Zeus, Jess Song, and Eunsil and Kathleen, and you will see the whole lineup. And then tomorrow we will be screening Lan Wynn's Fighting for Family from 3 to 3:30 CST, followed by Amy Malkin's Healing Through Walking Meditation from 4:30 to 5:30 CST. Monday, December 14th, we are having a live stream with Keshav Kant, manifesting your manuscript, and then from 7 to 8:30 CST, a beginner's makeup and gender workshop by Jack Lamb. Tuesday, the 15th, we are having Cynthia Koo, founder of Wonton in a Million, have a workshop on how to start and finish a 365-day project. And from 7 to 9:30, we are having a live reading and live Q&A with Kalia Yang. Y'all, you need to come to this for real. Come to this. She is amazing. And on Wednesday, the 16th, we're having our live community panel from 6:30 to 8 p.m. CST. And then from 6:30 to 8, we are also having another workshop with Keshav Kant going over healing through history. On Thursday, the 17th, we are having I'm so excited for this workshop, y'all. Locating the Self, Emotional Navigation Through Journaling with Jess Song. And on Friday, we're having a live stream of Kyle Fu's origami workshop. And we are also having our next amazing lineup under the concept of giving space for unheard voices, followed by a live Q&A with all of these amazing artists. And on Saturday, we are having yoga sessions to relax. And then we're having our last lineup, giving yourself time to heal from 6 to 8:30 p.m. CST. I saw that Rachel Jackson is in the crowd right now. Rachel, I love you. Okay. And on Sunday, we are having our last thing is we are finishing off this festival with PBS Asian Americans from 1 to 6 p.m. CST. All right, y'all. I know that's a lot, but we are excited to see you all there. So let's start. Tonight, we will be viewing submissions under the concept Giving Up Old Habits. This lineup arrangement is different from last night's Giving Back to the Community, as our featured artists share how they take care of themselves in releasing old habits and encouraging better and new opportunities. Ria, please introduce our first piece.
Gladly. Okay, so this is actually a piece submitted by Unipro Texas staff. It was our creative project in the beginning of COVID as a community care practice. Initially, we started with a collaborative poem with members submitting a few lines about what it means to be together. And it has evolved into a video piece. As staff, we want to continue the habit of inviting more room for creativity, play, and holding space for each other. So without further ado, this is In the Mood for Mangoes, a slice of our current lives. Enjoy.
In the mood for mango.
In this space, you remember the subtle sweetness of humility, to bask in energy that is ever-flowing and self-regenerating, to allow growth in tender, vulnerable ways.
My inspiration, my home.
In the darkest time,
I close the blinds to
where the light
sleep,
does not shine the brightest,
but sometimes I
look
neglect to
you for
open them
comfort,
and let the daylight in.
acceptance,
In this
and love.
time of
At
solitude,
this moment,
the
I
daylight
remember that
reminds
I am not
me of your
alone.
love and
You
acceptance.
will always be there with your light.
Soon
guiding,
enough, we will bask in
protecting,
each other's
and
light.
shining ever so bright for me to follow.
A gaze to the sky, a deep breath, a smile, a cry, our eyes opening to a new day. My mind wonders if I shared that one intimate moment with you at the exact same time.
Passed from one to another,
there y'all were.
you and I flow parallel with each other,
A single red thread
ever changing,
connects our hearts,
ever moving,
intertwined and inseparable,
creating ripples,
souls bound by love,
for tomorrow and ahead.
The difference between being a part
together,
and being a part
with
is the
or
space.
in proximity to another person.
This is a space
We
I
are
hold
together.
for you.
But
This
are
is a
we
space
together?
we long for.
I
In
can
this
see
space,
you,
I will wait
yet
to
I
meet
cannot
you
perceive
again.
you.
When
I
we're
can hear
safe,
you, yet
when we're
I
ready.
cannot listen to you.
But for now,
I can touch
let's
you,
be a part of something
yet
greater.
I cannot feel you.
Even one apart.
Of all the things
we all
that you
start
and I can
separately
be
as
doing,
flowers, salt,
all the
water,
places
and
we can
yeast.
be at,
Fear,
all the people
pain,
we can be
compassion,
with.
and joy push and pull
We are
us.
here right now.
Needed until we come together
Every time
into
you
the
read
right
this,
structure.
I'm here with you.
The outcome of this process
forever
will
in the
allow us to
present.
provide to others.
I look outside. I envy the birds freely flying and singing their sweet tunes as I drown in work and stress and life. I look over. You smile. and everything is suddenly alright.
Normally, a space reserved to escape the real world turns into a space that becomes your whole world. My inspiration, my home.
I remember the smell of rain. Lightning shook our bodies, as did the roar of our laughter resonating through the house. Is that thunder shaking the building, or is it us? The faint smell of San Miguel on your breath, it feels like home. This is our tribe. I am home. Time passes as memories start to slip away. Was it summer or spring again? Morning, night, I can't seem to remember who was with us. Time passes and I begin to slip away. But today, I smelled the rain. I remember. I am whole.
I'm low-key emotional right now. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that was a submission from Unipro, Texas. I love you all. Shout out to Chanel for putting the video together. Shout out to Nikki for weaving in the audios. Yeah, anyways, this submission was created at the height of the pandemic, which changed our way of living. This project took several months to complete in lieu of everyone's busy schedule. Despite the virtual distance we all experience, we hope this can be a heartfelt example of a way to take care of each other and ourselves. This pandemic also, in many ways, woke a lot of people up and made folks rediscover themselves. It is an honor and privilege to introduce our next artist, ZEVS Paredes. In the last decade, ZEVS has been rediscovering his artist's voice, culminating in over 300 pieces focused on his representation of the human experience through pen and ink. Welcome, ZEVS Paredes.
Hello, I'm ZEVS Paredes, and I'm a visual artist based here in Houston, Texas. Well, I've been in Texas for almost 20 years. I was born and raised in the Philippines. For this online exhibit, I'm highlighting one of my pen and ink series, which I entitled Dito Logat. It tells a story of how I gave up a bad habit when it came to my career in art. The origin of this four-piece series came from my senior years in university as a fine art student. That year, I never forgot how my colleagues, my peers, has branded me and my work as a Paul Queen. These comments seriously affected me, and it's like something rolling in my mind every time I would hold my brush. And it really bothered me, and I asked myself, how could I spend 3 years in this university only to be a shadow of someone else? It seemed like everything that I worked for was thrown out of the window. What happened next was years of hibernation. And during this time, I stagnate and became less productive. And it became a regular habit, waiting for that time, that big time when I would get one big, bright idea that I could call my own. So, although I was able to finish some works during this time, I was not really very happy with the outcome. They came while I was visiting my favorite art store. I chanced upon this pad of paper, and it really matched the type of paper that I was looking for. I like the texture, the format. It's just 9 by 12. Like the color, it's a little off-white. In my excitement, I was just so happy with my discovery that I just started filling up the pages with sketches. Though in between those pages, I found myself so spontaneous. I like the lines that I was able to create. I like the colors, the composition. This experience, I thought I was really moving forward, and I decided I can't allow myself to stagnate again, to stop. Ditulog'at was a shorthand for the phrase, dilat na tulog, asleep with your eyes open. In these images, I wanted to express my realization during the time in my life, how I had opened my eyes, but seems like I was not seeing anything. Like I mentioned earlier, I freeze every time I face my canvas, because thinking that I would be again what I was branded. Looking back, I found out that those unvalidated words that I received during the university time, that really pinned me down to a halt. So that really was the culprit that I realized that I cannot really stay and sulk in that. Gain momentum, I believe, when I started recognizing these old habits and just throwing them away. Those daydreaming times, I told myself it's got to stop. Taking into account that my previous experiences, observations, and images during my childhood was more than enough. There was so much overwhelming data that I have accumulated. It is not a search of identity, but protecting what you have amassed. Our past experiences, good or bad, they're real, they're facts, and they will never change. Your observations will only be as good as how you perceive them, or how you interpret them on your canvas. So, salamat. I hope in sharing this with you guys, marami tayong natutunan, mga kabayan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Zeus. Well, to me, Ito Zeus, meaning uncle in our language, right? For always sharing your experiences and your words of wisdom with us. Ito Logat is definitely a piece that resonates with me because it reminds all of us to become more aware of the thoughts and narratives we tell ourselves, and that may prevent us from sharing our true gifts. Our next feature also brings to the fore letting go pieces of self that no longer serve you, and so we can step more into our power and into our own selves. Everyone, I have the privilege of introducing a poet, a colleague, and one of my life friends, Jenah Maravilla.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenah Maravilla. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm based in Houston, Texas. I am a community leader, I am a poet, and I am a holistic editor. And what it means to be all three of those things is that I wish to empower BIPOC storytellers to show up radically in spaces they historically haven't been a part of. And with that, tonight I hope to share with you these poems and pieces that are part of who I used to be, and honoring that, because giving up old habits means letting go of pieces of yourself. With these pieces, I also want to empower you, and I hope that you tell your own stories and honor who you are and who you're going to be. Thank you. I am not a morning person. I don't get up to see the sunrise. I took the night shift and missed the sunset, but God, do I remember what dawn looks like through the slats of the blinds of the patient sleeping behind me as I finish up the last bit of paperwork amongst the smell of hospital cleaner and freshly brewed coffee just in time for shift change. I'm not a morning person. I don't get up to see the sunrise. I took the night shift and missed the sunset, but God, do I remember when the sun finally kisses my skin after a long, cold shift in the evening, when I sit in my car, take a deep breath, and wait for the engine to warm me up just in time to drive against the morning traffic. I'm not a morning person. I don't get up to see the sunrise. I took the night shift and missed the sunset, but God, do I remember the darkness of my room, and the heat of the light that warms it, and the dreamless sleep that lulls me from 1 hour to the next, just in time for another shift. This is a prose piece entitled Thanksgiving. It took everything inside of me that Thanksgiving evening to keep myself from throwing my own body onto his wailing, crumpled wife, who watched the staff do everything in their power to save him. I chewed my dried turkey, swallowed the tasteless stuffing, put on my earphones, and finished up in the break room. I took the long way around the unit so that I wouldn't be in the way of security who had to drag her into the waiting room, knowing she wasn't waiting anymore. The rest of her family, noiselessly shuffling behind the biblical spectacle. A security guard supporting each arm under her grieving, dead weight. The doors closed and another life needed us. There were 3 code blues that night. 3 lifetimes on the line. 3 moments of increasing fatigue for the same team that kept coming back to help, to save, to call it Thanksgiving. To the Cebuano God of lost things. Daligmata, tulungan mo ako, I weep. I step into silent white shoes again. I transform into this robotic thing trapped in a perpetually bleach-scented white light, unrelentingly beeping box. People ask me what survival feels like. Fight or flight, sweaty palms, dry mouth, but few know what happens when survival is not a season, but a life sentence. Atonement for firstborn immigrant shame. Survival is a breathless prayer in the car, a steady voice amongst code blue chaos, a jaw clenched and a tongue bitten when a patient wails against your care, a mechanical lunch break, a hollow sleep, sobs against a steering wheel 3 times a week. You owe me. I look into Daligmata's many wandering eyes. I am crumpled. I am small. You owe me for the love and the sweat and the blood, for the tears, for the years, for the entirety of my early 20s. You owe me, and creatures like me. Reparations for the dances around death we do, nimbly choreographed in those silent white shoes. Most of us on foreign soil, with hands washed clean. I open my palms to this God I have forgotten. You owe us the skin we shed, down the drains and into the oceans, swept into the sands we arose from. I am not the only one who has lost so much. I am not the only one who wants to be found. Daligmata, tulungan mo ako, I weep. What I'm almost made of. I've always known strong women, but hadn't always worked with strong women. Women who can still laugh and sing and dance even after you've seen the sweat on their brow, when ordering a heart back to beating, hearing the sternness in their voice when they've had to speak to doctors who did not believe them. Women who still pull the ice pops from the freezer meant for a patient that left 3 weeks ago and share it with the team, giggling at the small treat. Women who came from nothing. Women who made something of themselves. Nurses, the ones that do their best, are made of things I almost have. I want to thank all the spaces that hold me, from my family to my friends, and the organizations that I'm a part of. Unipro Texas, Filipino American National Historical Society of Houston, Texas, Philippine X Artists of Houston. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Jenah, for honoring those who came before you, for empowering yourself and others to share our stories and shifting the conversation to radical vulnerability. Jenah, as mentioned, started her career in the nursing field, and with deeper reflection and writing, she has pivoted her journey into holistic editing, using her skills and experiences learned in her past self. She holds space for clients and encourages them to amplify their own voice and in their writing. Check out her website right here, please, everyone. Check it out. Check it out. Yeah, our next artist is currently getting her master's degree in physician assistant studies. Through this all, she is still writing and creating music. Everyone, please welcome Kathleen.
Hi, my name is Kathleen. I'm a 25-year-old singer-songwriter from Houston, Texas. I currently live in Dallas while I'm finishing up my master's degree in physician assistant studies. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you, OCA Greater Houston, for putting together this great event, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be performing tonight. So today's theme is giving, and I think as a musician, I embody this word by being able to give a part of myself through my music, and I think that's what's so special about songwriting and being able to connect with people through music. So I hope you guys enjoy my set today. I'm going to be performing an original song called Just Breathe, and I also thought this song was really fitting for the theme of giving today. I usually write a lot of love songs, and this song is more about self-love and giving yourself the love and energy that you also deserve. So thank you again for having me, and I hope you enjoy.
I know I'm hard to love sometimes. I know I'm hard to please. I know it's hard to read the signs, but I really do believe. I know it's hard to let it all out. So lonely in this world, thinking about what my next moves have to be. But I really do believe that all good things take some time. All good things will be mine eventually. Eventually. Like the sun rises, I will too fly away into another galaxy. Just breathe, fix my broken heart, mend my broken soul. Almost fell apart, I'm no longer whole. Won't you fix my broken heart? Won't you mend my broken soul? Almost fell apart. All good things take some time, and all good things will be mine eventually. Eventually. Like the sun rises, I will too fly away into another galaxy. Just breathe, just breathe. All good things take some time, and all good things will be mine eventually. Eventually. So just breathe.
Ooh, Thank you, Kathleen, for your beautiful voice and your original song, Just Breathe. I think it's a wonderful reminder to take that breath and to love yourself. You said all good things take some time, and I couldn't agree with you more. And especially when it comes to yourself, right? I think our next person expands on that a little bit more in the way she talks about giving. Actually, Kathleen is unable to join us for the Q&A portion of this program, but please support her and her music. Um, Honestly, when someone's singing so well, and it just makes you kind of want to like whip out your mic as well and sing along with them. I'm just super inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your gift today with us. Um, so without further ado, I would love to introduce our final person this evening, Eunsil Leem. I know Eunsil through uh, Contemporary Arts Museum of Houston. We work as educators for the rotating exhibits. So shout out to the FACT team. Um, Similar to Zeus, Unshul's work, You're So Naive sheds light on the human experience, but she gets deeper into the human nature of politics and emotions specifically. Everyone, please welcome Eunsil Leem.
Hello, my name is Eunsil Leem, and I'm a metal artist. My preferred pronouns are she, her, and hers. I was born in South Korea and moved to US for the college. I started out as a furniture designer before I started my practice in metal. I used to make miniature furniture in wood and wanted to learn more about other material. Then I fell in love with metal because it gave me freedom of scale and function. In 2018, when I finished my graduate school in Southern Illinois University, I moved to Houston to do my artist residency program at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. After the residency, I've been living in Houston, working in my studio and working for museums as an educator. When I heard this year's theme, giving, I didn't know what to say at first. I used to spend a lot of time alone in my studio and felt selfish. Even though my ultimate goal of making work was to share with others, I felt guilty when I had to turn down my friends and family's invitation to focus on my work. Then last year, I had a baby. I had to change myself from someone who's used to receiving love than giving love. I've learned a lot, and what I learned the most was the way of my parents' love. My parents, they're not the type of people who show their feelings and affections to their children. I wanted to be their proud daughter for a long time, and then I realized that I didn't even have to try. Without giving, I think it is hard to appreciate what we have, and I'm really glad that I had a chance to learn the joy of giving and feel connected to my parents. My work, You Are So Naive, is an exploration of ambiguity of human. Before this series, I was making work about politics and journalism. And the more I researched, I was overwhelmed by the complexity of human and how this complication obscures our vision and judgment. And I wanted to show how this ambiguity exists in us, not just for politicians and special people. some people think they have nothing to do with politics, but I don't think politicians are extremely different from us. In the end, humans are all political animals. I started to look for idea that crosses between everyday life and politics. And looking through images of human expression, such as facial expression and gestures and body language, to remind the political nature in ourselves. I hope we can discuss more at the Starry Nite Fest. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to meeting you. Bye.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Eunsil, for sharing what it means to embody giving at this moment. With your work, you are so naive. You really create visual poetry to express different experiences and emotions that are so common to many folks. That ambiguity is really, to be able to question it is so beautiful. Eunsil, your work is amazing. And you know what else is amazing, y'all? Please, she creates one-of-a-kind jewelry. So please, please check out her work. Visit the Starry Nite Marketplace and support her. Here's her Instagram. Oh, well, her Instagram handle was here. But yes, please, please support Eunsil. I'm going to hand it off to Ria to conclude the Giving Up Old Habits lineup. Please stay tuned, y'all.
Hey, so that concludes our Giving Up Old Habits lineup. Please stay tuned because we all have the chance to know more about our artists and performers in this live Q&A session coming up. Actually, like I said, Kathleen's not able to make it, but Jess Song is going to be joining our panel. She's actually one of our speakers for next week. Please register at our website to enter the workshop. Oh, there you go. The website is right there. Please register. It's going to be amazing. Okay, cool. But before we get into the live Q&A, excuse me, we're going to feature some messages from our community and our community partners. We're going to be hearing more on UniPro and BPSOS. Here they are.
Filipino American Unity for Progress, UniPro, is a national 501c3 nonprofit organization that envisions a unified and engaged Filipino America. Founded in 2009, UniPro's mission is to engage Filipino Americans through collaboration, advocacy, and education. It seeks to transform Filipino students and young professionals into community leaders through its various programs, which incorporate professional development, history, and policy through the lens of the Filipino experience. The organization allows Filipino Americans the opportunity to explore their place in the community in the hope of owning their niche. We currently have chapters all over the U.S., including New York, San Diego, Chicago, Seattle, and Texas. Our programs have ranged from summer mentorship programs, educational workshops such as Usapan from New York and Kilusan from Texas, community gatherings like Fill You Up series from Chicago and Handaan in Dallas, Philippine graduation in collaboration with the Consulate General in New York, Chicago, and Houston, and spaces to inspire such as Lumika Arts Showcase in Houston and our National UniPro Summit. We've been able to adapt to the times by creating spaces virtually to serve and unite our communities. If you'd like to collaborate with us, please email us at info@unipronow.org or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at UniProNow. Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea Batad and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a second-generation Filipino American and a proud community organizer working with UniPro Texas. UniPro envisions an engaged and unified Filipino America. And since we were founded in 2009, we've been serving our communities by investing into young professionals and students, helping them lead critical conversations and unpack their cultural identity. Over the years, I've learned that a key part of unpacking my cultural identity is connecting to my roots, connecting to Filipinos in the Philippines. Now, in early November, the Philippines was struck by Super Typhoon Goni and Typhoon Vamco. These consecutive storms have affected more than 6 million people and have destroyed thousands of homes. In response to this calamity, UniPro is hosting a live stream event called Unity for Relief, a coast-to-coast variety stream. Our goal for this event is to raise donations and awareness for typhoon relief so Filipinos can rebuild their homes. And we also want to shed light and hope during this holiday season. So we invite you to join us this Sunday by visiting tinyurl.com/unityforrelief. We'll be going live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have singers, dancers, a bye-bye expert, yoga, and many talented people performing for us. We would love to see you there, and any dollar amount of a donation would make an amazing difference. Thank you so much for your support and generosity. Maraming salamat, and thank you so much for your giving spirit.
For BBSOS, the biggest factors for our work has always been the community, and this year we call to support our community in situations that we never been tested before. When the pandemic first struck, we thought of how we could support our community in their time of need. Chúng tôi hiểu rõ những nhóm dân nào cần giúp đỡ nhất, đó là những người bệnh và những người cao niên, nên chúng tôi đã hợp tác cùng với Sở Cảnh sát Houston và Hiệp hội Sinh viên Y khoa Việt Nam của Đại học UH tổ chức các buổi trao quà từ thiện cho người dân. Và chúng tôi đã trao hàng trăm gói quà cho hàng trăm người cao niên với sự giúp đỡ của cộng đồng. Chúng tôi đã làm việc không ngừng nhằm đem đến các thông tin chính xác và kịp thời về dịch Covid, như là những nơi quý vị có thể xét nghiệm Covid, các triệu chứng quý vị cần chú ý, thực hiện các chương trình trợ giúp về thuê nhà hay là hóa đơn. Do khu vực này không có nhiều tổ chức nói tiếng Việt, nên chúng tôi cố gắng trở thành nguồn thông tin và kiến thức hữu ích cho cộng đồng Việt Nam. BBSOS luôn phục vụ cộng đồng tốt nhất vì chúng tôi biết cộng đồng chúng tôi cần. Xin cảm ơn.
Thank you for all our community organizations that have been supporting us. And yes, please follow UniPro and BPSOS because they do great community work. On Sunday, we're actually having our first Happy Film Fest screening with Fighting for Family, directed by Lan Nguyen. But before we introduce the film, we want to give you guys a brief recap on Happy Fest.
wow, these videos are insane. Such epic music. I swear, like that got me so hyped up. If you're not hyped up right now with all these videos and all the work that the community is doing, come on now. But sorry, let me just center myself real quick. It's a lot. So I want to reiterate. So Fighting for Family is a short film documentary by filmmaker Lan Nguyen. She does amazing work for the Vietnamese community in California, and it is also going to be featured on Sunday, 3 p.m. Do make some time for that. And I understand Chelsea did mention earlier that PH Livestream is also going to be on deck as well. So, tune in when you can on these events. We're also on Sunday having a workshop from Amy Malkin, and that will be healing through walking meditation. You have to register. That's going to be 4:30. It's going to start 4:30 CST PM. Yes. And yeah, so go to our website, go ahead and register. Same thing with the film, but also look out for the Unipro Philippine live stream, PH live stream, and go ahead and support. Check in and tune in as often as you can. Again, all the proceeds go to NAFCON and Bainihan, and it'll definitely help the folks back home in the Philippines. So yeah, I mean, I'm almost ready for this panel. I'm super excited. But hold on a second. Let me just plug in real quick. Our promotions page on our website. Is it? There you go. StarryNite.com. Visit our website for a promotions page. There's like 10% off of Yum Cha. There's like 10% off of like 6 Ping pastries. I'm a pastry person and a coffee person. So look through our promotions page. There's a lot going on, and our marketplace. I was actually perusing the marketplace earlier today, and I stumbled across something, a vendor that's totally awesome. Noble Cushions. They actually, there you go. There's the link below. Noble Cushions. They create ergonomic, organic meditation cushions, and that's actually, just the plug-in for me. It's just like, one of the habits that I want to invite in more for myself is, to invite or give myself more time for meditation, to sit with myself. And so I'm scoping out some of these meditation cushions, and I'm just like, this looks pretty minimalist and just, it's also ethically sourced. So I'm probably gonna purchase one soon, perhaps. But I'm gonna actually bring in, Trish into the screen, excuse me, because we're going to introduce our facilitator for the Q&A panel.
Yes, we are. Y'all, by the way, check out the vendors page for sure. Like, we have 48 vendors, part of Starry Nite Arts Fest. And some of these vendors have amazing promotions, y'all. Please support these small businesses, local businesses, artists, craftspeople. Like, there's a lot of people I never knew about, and now I know about them. And so please go to the website, support, show love. And are y'all ready for this live Q&A panel with the amazing artists that we featured their work earlier?
I am.
You are? Okay. All right. So I'm going to introduce our facilitator for the evening. She's amazing, y'all. An Nguyen is a 16-year-old first-generation Vietnamese American based in Houston, Texas, and she's currently a junior at Katy High School. She pursues activism through the digital space and organizations like the Asian Articles, which she is the executive director of. She's the lead editor for Dear Asian Youth Houston and a proud volunteer with OCA Houston. While she's pursuing a career in STEM, she hopes to continue telling the stories of Asians and youth and advocating for them through intersectionality. Everyone, welcome the amazing An Nguyen.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Trisha, for the amazing introduction. I can't wait to introduce everyone to our amazing audience. So Yeah. Oh, and I would like to remind everyone who's watching on our YouTube to click the subscribe button, should be down here, and the notification button as well. Yeah, okay. So moving on, I will be introducing our first panelist for the night. Her name is Eunsil Leem. And Eunsil Leem turned to woodworking to learn more about hands-on making after earning a BFA in furniture design from Sangmyung University in Seoul, Korea. While enrolled in a woodworking program in a community college, Eunsil took a jewelry class and fell in love with art jewelry. Making one-of-a-kind jewelry fulfilled her desire for creative art, and after finishing advanced jewelry classes, she continued her education in graduate school and received an MFA in jewelry and metalsmithing from Southern Illinois University. She explores the limitations of language to express unspoken experiences and emotions in her work, and through the making process, she believes non-tangible concepts, such as thoughts and feelings, become real. Eunsil communicates a story by cutting, etching, reconnecting, firing, and hammering her chosen material. The inspiration for her work is based on her personal experience, but she strives to create visual poetry in order to express experiences and emotions that are common to many. Please definitely go check out her work. And yeah, links are down below. Our next panelist for the night is going to be Jessica Song. Jess Song is the founder of Back to Self, a service committed to demystifying journaling as a self-care practice. Jess is especially committed to bridging cultural gaps in emotional health. She spent 15 years working with underserved immigrant, diaspora, second-generation populations, and learned that there's an unexplored gap in the way we process, communicate, and navigate our emotions, especially the difficult ones. With Back to Self's journaling workshops, Jess aims to reset this cultural and generational gap by bringing counseling, healthy communication, and healthy relationship frameworks into a daily accessible practice. Jess is Korean American, and she was born in, raised by, and still deeply in love with Brooklyn, New York. Everybody give it up to Jess Song. And please do not forget about her amazing workshop this week on Thursday, December 17th, Locating the Self, Emotional Navigation Through Journaling from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm definitely registering. Now, on to our third panelist for the evening. I have Jenah Maravilla. She is a poet, and as a Filipinx American, moving in a politicized body through different spaces means more than just becoming successful. Maravilla's work centers around the ideas of honoring those that came before, empowering those present, and shifting the conversation to radical vulnerability. What this looks like in practice is her intentional use of succinct statements that do not sacrifice breadth of emotion, respecting the complexities of her audience while remaining understandable to those who do not find themselves face-to-face with literature often. She hopes that her work does not alienate, but rather peels back the curtain of everyone's shared kapwa, or shared humanity. Wow. Love the poetry. And on to our final panelist, last but definitely not least, we have ZEVS Paredes. He is a Filipino artist, consultant, designer, detailer, and space planner. He's also a multidisciplinary designer with 35 years of combined experience working in the architectural export industry and construction industry, specializing in product design. You saw his work earlier tonight. Definitely continue to go check it out because it is amazing work. Wow, I'm so excited to have everyone here on this panel. Before I introduce my first question, I'd actually like to open it up to the audience in the comments. Please leave any questions that you have for our amazing panelists. And if we have time during the panel, we'll definitely get to them. So on to our first question for the evening. So this is for everyone on this panel right now. Journalism, art, music, poetry, all of these forms of creative expressions are methods for us to reevaluate ourselves as individuals and as a community. How do you think we can take advantage of creative art forms to better ourselves as a community by giving up old habits and adopting new ones? I'd like to have Jess answer this question first, actually, if you'd like.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Awesome. Hi. So I think that's a really good question. I know, so just full disclosure, I actually have a background in art. I went to junior high school for fine arts and high school for fine arts, and for a period of time thought that I would want to make a living as an artist. And I think one of the most important things that creative expression has been able to provide as far as like reevaluating ourselves in our community has been giving me space, or I had to force myself to make intentional space to show up for myself every day so that I can make room for myself and build a practice. Makes sense. I had to work really hard to build a habit that was based around what my heart wanted to say, what message I wanted to get out. And I think very often in the everyday world, there's not a lot of room for that. And it gets really easy to distract yourself and step away. So yeah, I would say that my answer is creative practices really ask you to step up for yourself every day.
Wow, that's an amazing answer. I definitely felt that. And I'd like to continue this question towards Jenah. Do you have anything to add to this?
I was just saying in the chat backstage that I totally feel that. I feel like the more that I step into my craft, the more I have to make space for myself. It's interesting that I also see that when it comes to the creative arts and things like that, that specifically the AAPI community does not prioritize that form of expression for the most part. And so like for us to really show ourselves in that way, I think is already a huge step in creating new habits. Because like I don't know, I feel like if someone younger were to see this panel or any of the other things that are going on in the event weekend, that it would inspire them to really, I don't know, be different than I guess what's expected. And that already helps in opening a door for something new.
Zeus, Eunsil, do you guys have any answers to the first question? Eunsil, would you like to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay, I'll go first. And I like to say hello first. And I'm really glad to be in this Q&A. I'm like, actually my heart is pounding after seeing all those professional videos. And I'm like, oh, everybody's so professional. And I'm like putting my lipstick at last. So I think I was amazed to hear like giving a space to yourself and creating art is so important to become yourself. And because I was thinking about the same thing, making art gives me a space to learn about myself, learn about others, finding weakness and strength in myself, and just accepting myself to become better and realize what I'm lacking and what I am strong at it. So I think it's very important to practice art for everybody in any form and be creative to become better or development, self-development.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that answer. Zeus, what do you have to say?
Yes, be yourself and telling your story is most important. Very, very important. I was watching yesterday. It's just really, you have to tell your story
unless you want somebody else to tell your story. It's got to be different from your who you are. You have to be yourself. You have to find the richness of what you already have. That's difficult, really, in unearthing what you have and getting them into a more tangible form. Being a visual artist, it's kind of difficult to translate what you have in your mind and put it on canvas or paper. That sometimes is excruciating to me because you see something behind your mind, and once you put it on canvas, once you create the lines, that's not what that's something that I'm not seeing behind my back. So, but then if you just go be yourself and just tell the story just like it is, and don't ever compare yourself to somebody else, who has mastered the craft or who has been there, because it's just a throwback. It will just pull you back. You cannot compare yourself to somebody else because you're an individual. You have your own identity. You have your own experience, and you are you. So I guess that's basically what this is all about. What we could share, being part of the communities, be yourself, and share who you are.
Yes, I definitely agree with what everyone on this panel here said. And I'd actually like to turn back to kind of what Jess and Eunsil and even Jenah, what you all were talking about giving space for yourself, and how sometimes the AAPI community doesn't give artists and other creative space to express themselves in that manner. So my next question, actually, also for everyone on this panel, what habits do you think the AAPI community needs to give up? Habits that might be a result of the collectivistic culture that many Asian cultures tend to have, or like American culture in general, because I know one habit might be that we tend to limit the space that we give to creatives. So what are your thoughts on that? And Eunsil, would you like to go first? Oh, Eunsil, are you muted, or are you still thinking?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Yeah, I was thinking on that question, and like thinking really hard what old habits so we really need to give up. And I can only speak from my experience that sometimes I try to try to please everybody, and I think that's really wrong, because it's nearly impossible. I mean, it's impossible to please everybody, and after I heard from this psychiatrist and the pediatrician saying, like, you have to take care of your own needs, and you shouldn't care about other people getting disappointed or becoming angry about it, because it's not your responsibility. And I have to remember these kind of things to pursue what I want and what I need to move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's kind of what Zeus was talking about kind of plays in. Like, instead of pleasing everyone, I think while it is difficult, it's more beneficial to focus on telling your own story and focusing on making sure your narrative is told, rather than pleasing everyone else. Jess, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, so I talk about the Asian American, like the relationship between like the Asian American experience and emotional navigation a lot. And I think one of the, you mentioned it earlier on, but it's like that finding that balance. I think one habit that the Asian community can work on becoming a little more intentional about is finding the balance between collectivist culture and individual culture. It's like, we're always in that space, right? Especially for folks like me who are born here. We see a lot of the world through that individualistic mindset. And like, I think, and I talk about like mental health all the time and how so much of mental health is very Western, right? It's very individualist. So it's like, if your parents like never, cared about your feelings or make space to listen to you, then they're toxic. And it's like literally every Asian person in the room is going to be like, oh my God, are my parents like toxic, right? So it's really a cultural thing. And I think, for me, individualist culture doesn't leave a lot of room for the ancestral story, right? It doesn't leave a lot of room for like the community giving aspect of it and how much of like the power of giving as an act of uplifting, right? And I think like collectivism, extreme collectivism doesn't leave a lot of room for the self, right? Whether it's like reflecting on yourself or speaking up for yourself or celebrating yourself, there's not a lot of room for the self in that. And, I think a lot of that is really deeply embedded in survival, right? Like, because we don't want to be ostracized. We don't want, like, we need each other to survive as a collectivist society. And I think what's starting to happen now is that, like, as a society now, at least in America, like, speaking up for yourself and celebrating yourself and advocating for yourself is actually becoming quite important for survival. So we really need to find that balance in between to be able to be like, I love my culture, right? There's great things about my culture and I love myself, and finding that space in between to do both instead of trying to pick one over the other. So I'd say that's a habit that as a society, Asians can just take a deeper look inside.
Definitely. Jenah, do you have anything to add?
No, yeah, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth, so I'm just gonna shut up. No, just kidding. But I was thinking also about like the westernized capitalistic society of like the next big thing, the next thing to get done, the next goal, the next award or whatever the heck. And that, there isn't, as we have already said, much time for space, and intentionally making space to really reflect on what has already gone on, what you've been going through, who you were, how these goals can change. You don't have to keep having the same goal since you were like 8 years old, and you can pivot it any way you want. And that in itself is creativity, right? I think that a lot of people tend to not be able to tap into that, even in the most basic level of they have control over their time and their life. And I think that that's something that we all always need to reflect upon.
Wow. Yes, I definitely think that the balance is definitely needed, and I think I think everyone can relate, being Asian, just trying to find that balance between where do you stick to the collectivistic cultures that have been cultivated since you were a child, and where do you kind of diverge from that and take and adapt more of the values that we learn here in America. And Zeus, actually, did you have anything to add to that question before we move on?
Yeah, spending about more than 4 decades back home and being there and within my native culture, who I am, I really did have a lot of problem when I migrated to the U.S. because when I was young, I could remember I was watching black and white movies, Hollywood movies, and I could see the culture. I could see what's happening here, although it's not 100% real. I mean, because that could be a later topic. It's different when you see the movies, and it's different when you experience the same place and the same people, and you think they are what you have seen in the movies. No, they're not. So there's a lot of cosmetics. There's a lot of put on add-ons and takeaways in those movies, and that I found out in a very surprising way when I first came here in Seattle. But but watching the Western movies, watching all those movies, you would see, let's say, Gary Cooper walk into a bellhop or the manager behind the counter. Where's this guy? I said, no, I don't know him. He's showing a picture. Hey, I need to see this guy, and he pulls out $100 bill, put it on the table, and then, oh, you could find him in a room so and so. So it's like, is that for real? I mean, is that? I know it's happening, So it's just a sample of those kilted different ideas that you have put on what is UX like. So when I came in here, I believe I was in my 50s when I turned 50 here in the US, and you're seeing a different culture, especially here in Houston. It's so diverse. You have to integrate yourself, but you just have to be, I would say, it's not compromise, but you have to, what Jess Song said, that you have to balance it. You cannot just insist who you are. This is what I want to be, and shove it to them. No, you can't do that. You have to play the balance, especially with so much diversity here in Houston. You would meet Africans. You would meet a different, a huge group of Latinos and a huge group of different Asians and Europeans. They all come together. Especially in my work, I come across so many types of people, so many. It's just crazy if you want to insist yourself who you are and what you are. And it's not that. I mean, you have to strike a balance. You cannot be just, hey, I'm Filipino. This is what I am. I will eat balut all day. If you cannot look at me eat that day-old chick, I'm sorry. You cannot just do that. You have to, a little discreet and art sometimes. And you cannot just put it on there. Play.
Yeah. Oh, do continue, Zeus. If you were you continuing to say something, Zeus?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
All right. But actually, pivoting back to Jess's answer about, again, we've emphasized this balance between cultures, and earlier when we were talking about leaving space for creative expression, we also kind of mentioned, Jess, leaving space for mental health. And I know, there's been kind of a resistance in making mental health a common point of discussion in the AAPI community. And I definitely think that's a habit that we could work on. So, directly addressing your journaling, how do you hope for emotional navigation through journaling to aid in the destigmatization of mental health?
Thank you for that. I think just to go, so I mentioned a little bit earlier that one of the things that tends to happen a lot is a fear of isolation or ostracization, right? So if we think about the way that a lot of very typical Asian communities work, is that, I have to be just like everyone else, right? I have to be accepted and liked by everyone else in order for me to live life, right? I think, I know that I can say this about the East Asian communities, but I do think I also see this in Southeast Asian and South Asian and things like that. And I remember on another, I was listening to another panel on mental health in the Asian community, and I heard something really fascinating about how like the ancestral history of collectivism and how like statistically cultures that were built off of harvesting grains tended to have very high collectivist tendencies. And if you really think about those communities, it's like literally the whole town has to work together to make food and eat and survive, right? So if one person's like, not gonna do it, then you're kind of at risk of like killing your whole community, right? And if you think about that in the ways of just like the way that that might have manifested into modern day times, where it's just like, you know, I do think there's some ancestral fear thing that goes off when we think about potentially saying something that makes other people uncomfortable. They may see us in a way that makes them not want to help us anymore, or you know, like reduces our chances of survival, right? You know, in certain parts of Korea, I'm pretty sure this is still common now, but listen, if you're divorced, like you're not going to be able to get jobs in certain places, or they're going to look at you funny when you walk into church, or, you know, so it really does impact your ability to survive, right? So on like a very general scale, I think a lot of things tie into that mental health stigma, but I think on a very general scale, we carry a really, really deep, like DNA embedded fear of being alone. And the thing about journaling that I have learned for me is that journaling allows me to have just a conversation with myself. It allows me to sit down and just be like, okay, like this is what my mom wants from me. This is what my community needs from me. This is what my sister needs me to be. This is what my partner doesn't want me to be. There's all of these factors that come in, but journaling becomes this one space where I'm like, all right, but what do I want? And what do I need? And how do I like really sit and root in that so that I can have the courage to communicate that to everyone else, so that I can be in better relationship with everyone else and they can be in better relationship with me. Like, I think we've so long thought that it's only me or them. There's no, like, it's me first, not me too, right? So it's like, if I'm putting myself, then other people are like, how dare you put yourself first, you know? But it's like this cultivation of being able to be like, actually, in order for me to have a healthy relationship with you, I want a healthy relationship with me, and I want to communicate to you how to love me so that we can grow together. Like, that's this new symbiotic relationship that's happening when you sit down and just ask yourself what you want. I don't know if that answered your question, but thank you for the really good question.
It definitely did. And that was such a thought-provoking answer. Like, yeah, I think I definitely think that's just journaling as a practice for yourself, but also for others. It's like this weird balance. Again, we keep talking about balance, but I definitely think that's a word that applies to not only this conversation, but just to 2020 in general. And yeah, I think, you know, Jess, you mentioned giving room for yourself through journaling and all of these things. Like, I know, Jenah, you worked as a nurse, or like in the ICU, and I know through your poetry as well, like listening to it earlier tonight, there's a lot of emotional labor that goes into that field of work. And sometimes you're giving and constantly giving. So how do you find how do you manage that, or how did you manage that?
Wow, that is a great question, because I feel like at the time there wasn't time to manage it. And that's the truth. Like, sometimes in your life, there's going to be spaces where there like physically cannot be space to make space. I feel like I keep saying that word. It's not a word anymore. And like, the thing is, though, is that I have been very fortunate to have a support system that really had been there for me, even if I wasn't there for myself. And I think that the collectivist part of us is truly a gift, when we come into a world of, you know, the grind culture, the hustle, and all of that. that community care is a real thing that I have specifically and very intentionally put into my life. And I think has also found me in the time that I needed it the most as a nurse. And when I started to doubt that route, that like way of life for me. And like, as you know, Jess has been talking about, I had mentioned in the chat that journaling has really become a daily practice for me almost, in terms of like pivoting and rearranging what my priorities are day to day. It already gives me that self-care to move through the world the rest of the day. And I think that that's what I've really had to lean on alongside community care. And yeah.
Oh, thank you for your insightful answer to that. And now, you know, we've talked about the community and the individual. So I'd like to start focusing on the individual. And, you know, we have two, you know, artists who dabble in, or not dabble, but you work in the traditional art mediums and all of that. So I know while you're trying to please everyone else, you know, Eunsil, you mentioned this need to try to please everyone else, even though that's not necessarily beneficial to yourself. As an artist, there's kind of a part to you where you have to differentiate yourself, whether that does please everyone or that doesn't please everyone, in order to be successful as an artist. You know, artists, you're expected to make yourself unique and your work unique. So how do you differentiate yourself in the space of artistry? Because I know you give physical form to non-tangible concepts, and that while that is something that many artists do, they express what is not tangible in their art. So how do you go about differentiating yourself in this big field of artistry?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the great question. I think it's a lot of artists are trying to find their voice, and so am I. You know, I try to find my voice, my identity, and my subject. Like, which subject can I express my feelings and my thoughts, my passion at the same time? How can I find my audience who can support my art? That's very difficult. So, I mean, it's like ongoing project. But for me, I think artist practice is more important to myself than pleasing the audience, which can be a selfish practice. Some artists, you know, I met people who used to say, like, if you don't make living out of your art, are you an artist? You know, so that question, I don't really agree with that statement, but some people have that. Some people have that sort of stereotype or some strong opinion about that. But I'm not like that. I'm sort of person that art is unique by itself. Like it's a mental thing. It's so personal, and to me it's a ritual thing, and it's a meditational thing to become someone that I was dreaming of, you know, someone to become. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of private message that they agreed. I'm glad to get that reaction, really. That's really relieving. Actually, I had very strong argument with my like friend about this long time ago. Anyway, so for me, it's making art is actually myself, and that time and that meditation, that time at the studio, And like I love metalsmithing because there's so much physical act, and I have to cut the metal and it makes a lot of noise. Hammer the metal, of course, it makes so much more noise, and firing, and so exciting. So that's why I like about metal, because there's so much activities going on, and I'm like fascinated by myself in my studio. It's not like drawing and then it's like I don't know, some people drawers, awesome drawers, they get like, wow, this is so cool. And when they paint red, wow, this is so awesome, like that. But in my studio, I'm amusing myself, I'm entertaining myself by firing and like hammering, like there's so much room to express myself, like and also I have so much emotion in myself, so I go through fear and go through excitement and anxious, nervous when I hammer something, when I burn something, fire something. Like, what if I go too much? Then I will melt the whole thing that I spent like 10 hours, 20 hours. So there is so much emotion in there. And I had those emotions because as an individual in the society, I have so much emotion that I was unable to express, and then like digesting those emotions in my work is so important, and that sort of process is inspiration to me, and I hope that inspiration is just like continues in my next work and inspires me so much. So I hope that sort of inspiration shows through my work.
That was, I like people backstage. I could feel the passion in your answer, and I love that about your work, that you put so much emotional labor into it. And I do agree with you that art is just inherently unique. That's the nature of art. But I do, kind of going on a tangent, but also staying along the same lines. Zeus, I'd like to address this next question to you, because I know while, we say that art is really, like it can be meditation, it can be a ritual to the artist creating it, but there's always that societal pressure of you have to differentiate yourself, you have to get yourself there, and I know Jenah mentioned backstage like capitalism and all of that. It definitely other societal factors play into this pressure that's being placed on artists. And so you mentioned this earlier, Zeus, this self-doubt created among artists because they're unsure in their own work. And what are your thoughts on this? How would it be beneficial to relieve? I mean, I believe it would be beneficial to relieve this pressure among artists. But how do you think we can do that?
Well, growing up, I knew right away, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And my dad's an architect. My brother's an architect. I'm married to an architect. My dad is my grandpa is a worked with Arellano also as an architect back in the 20s, and they inspired me so much that I said, "This is the track that I want to go. This is where I want to be." So by the time I was 10 or 11, I was doing drafting for my dad, creating border lines for the tracing papers, for the title blocks and all that. Until later on, just before I graduate, I finished my high school. I could do full-time drafting. I know the ins and outs of his trade because he would lecture to us almost every day. But then I want to pursue my artistry, so I told my dad, I want to go to fine arts. They said, with an eye that was really staggering, and he almost threw me back by just staring at me. You really want to do that? Because I was his protege. He wanted me to be an architect. I could do I was space planner for the office. I do a lot of sketching and studying for his planning details. I'm looking at that. He wanted me to be an architect, but I said, Dad, I want to be fine arts. And he said, you do that, I'm not going to pay for your tuition. But I went on. So that's why when I was in my junior years, when I heard after 3 years in college, and I think I was already in my senior year when I heard my peers saying, Zeus, you look like Paul Klee. Your works are like this and that. And I was being compared to those people and said, what? I thought I was being myself. And that really pulled me back. And but then I was glad I was able to get out of it. But it was really difficult for me. It took time for me to get over it. But then during those times, I know I mentioned before that I went into a time of hibernation, or it's almost halfway to reclusion. I started moving away from the art galleries, and because I don't want to be influenced of who they are. I was unaware that I already have my own. And because of those words that I'd heard that really set me back, I said, I really want to look deeper to who I am and how I could translate my art. But from there on, I never really considered what I could produce on my canvas, that I'm going to sell it. Or I would not put value to it, like how this would go for this much, and I would create something that they would like, and so I could sell it. I would sell more and make money. No, my art was never for sale. I was putting on all my lines, all my works, all my paint, my colors, without even considering if I could sell it or not. I think that's what I really want to give to the new set of artists who would be coming after me. You know, you cannot just put out, this is what I want to do because this would sell. This is cool, and a lot of people would appreciate this. No, do yourself. There would be a time, because being an artist is being an artist. It's life. It's not something that you want to make money. So that's why I have 2 jobs. I have to work as a project manager on the side. That's my sideline. My main art is my art. I'll do it. You want to buy it? Because this is my tag, you buy it at this price. But it won't go for anything less or anything more, because that's how much I want for it. Whether you like it or not, it is what it is. That's my work. I think it gives more value to your work because it's more you, not being influenced or being more like harassed into a certain space where this would be more sellable. I guess by doing that, it took a lot of pressure off my mind. So when I do my work, it's so spontaneous that I'm not gonna consider if it's going to go to the galleries or not. But then what really helped me a lot in fine arts in school is that you know how to use your medium. I was introduced to the different medium. You know how to use it well, so that your work would be. We did the standards of materials that would really last, and museum quality materials, and you know how to mix them. Something that will not, you don't mix acrylic with oil, and it will crack sometime. You just have to use the right paper, the right medium, with the right colors, the right paint. That's why my wife, when we migrated to the US, I was so excited to see the enormous materials that's at hand available for me. Different thickness of paper, different texture, different consistency, 100% cotton, so and so, blah blah blah. It's right, but you have to try each one of them. And my wife was asking, why do you have to buy all those papers? Well, but this one is different. This one is smooth. This one is texture. This one is won't curl. This one is thick. This one is thin. You would see tons of different papers on different canvases that I have, because you have to use the right medium so it would last. So your expression would be encapsulated in that work, and something that you could share. Not because it's going to sell more or valued, or it's not that. It's just doing the right way. You know, when you do ceramics or when you fire clay, there's a certain amount of water that you have to put in there, so that when you put it in the kiln, it will cure right. So art is very technical when it comes to the material that you're using, but the expression is raw. It's who you are. You just have to dump everything in there from yourself.
Wow, that was there's so much can be taken away from your answer, Zeus. I again, not only to Zeus, but to everyone here, I truly value all of your answers. And to our audience, especially to all of our young artists, I think Zeus's words provide such wisdom, and it was such a great answer. Yeah, so now actually, continuing on actually to Zeus, I know you mentioned Dito Logat, your artwork. You mentioned in your recording expressing a state of sleeping while being awake. And, you know, there are moments in our lives when we are alert and awake, and when we're passive, especially with our political and emotional consciousness. How do you presume we should maintain this consciousness and take on more active roles in our community?
Well, I'd like to be very specific on this. The Dito Logat actually is a wake-up call for me. As I mentioned earlier, when that word came into me, it really devastated me. It was so bad for me that although it's really a lie, it's not a truth, but it will hurt you. Any artist, if you hear those things, it will really throw you back. So that's what happened to me. And by the time I realized, I was like, I'm the Dito Logat. I mean, I was awake. I had my eyes open, but it seems like I'm sleeping. I think this transition from that state of hibernation or reclusion to the art world, it's embodied in my work. Nangangarap o nananaginip ng magandang kinabukasan. It's a you're there. You're like inside a dark room, peeping through a small window. Somehow you're like in a prison cell. I want to go out there and experience the greener pasture. I want to go there, but it's a lie. You don't have to go there, because within you have the richness of your experience. You have the richness of what you have observed all throughout your life. All you need to do is just put them on your canvas. Just dump it in. So that transition really woke me up and started a series of works that actually the lines that I have incorporated into those plays, the Dito Logat, was actually the images that arrest my eyes when I was a young boy. Not when I was in college. But those lines, the lines of the body marks of the Igorot, the Ifugaos, the Filipino natives, I was so amazed, and I love those. These natives would come from the northern part, the highlands of the Philippines. They would go down to the city during Christmas time, and they would be doing their tribal dance and all that to show, but to panhandle and make small amount of money, moving around house to house. But you would see, I was so excited seeing them. I want to take a closer look at their lines, and sometimes I would ask them to raise the shirt, and I would just be copying some of the body marks, because it's not only on the exposed part of the body, it's everything inside. They have it. And I want to document that. But then years have passed. During the time when I awoke back in the early 80s, the Ditulogat was conceived about 1982 and the early 80s. When I started working on that sketchpad, I never realized that I have it all the while. And it was just pouring out, coming out of me, without any influence, without any pressure from my peers. It was just going out. So that Ditulogat is a wake-up call for me. It's a milestone in my life that I have transitioned to. And then coming out of that, I documented that. And so from there on, I just came out with so many series, especially when I moved here to the US, when all these materials were available for me, different pens, different inks, different paints, everything. So I just started working my plates without considering, will this be sellable? Will they like it? No, this is me. I like it. It's me who like it. I'll put it there. And that's where it all started. So maybe I want to share to the new guys that coming up. The truth is, the expression, you cannot express somebody's experience. I guess that's how you really want to do it. You'll be a pseudo artist, you'll be a copycat. You have to be yourself, and that's the only way it should go. I mean, going back to those times, and you would see the efficiency of how you pull out those images down to your canvas, to your paper, would be so easy. But if you listen to those words that are enticed by those very nice works, or by the masters, oh yes, a good composition, nice lighting, very, very good colors, well balanced, and all that, nice texture. No, you cannot do that. You'll be ruining yourself. So I guess that answers your question, though.
Yes, thank you for your answer again, Zeus. And I had mentioned consciousness, and we're talking about wake-up calls here. But again, consciousness. Jess, I'd like to direct kind of like this follow-up question. How do you hope, or how do you presume we should maintain a more active state of emotional consciousness?
I think both Eunsil and Zeus talked about how they make the work for themselves, right? They sit down and they get into these spaces, whatever like safe space that is, whether it's your studio, Eunsil, or your hibernation space, Zeus. There was just a space where you went and you just explored and expelled energy and intook information and just vibed out. And Zeus, what you also mentioned, how all that was inside of you all along, right? And so much of that creative process is just trying things out until a door opens and you're like, oh shit, sorry, oh snap, right? You're like, oh my God, that was the answer inside of me all along, right? That's essentially what journaling has been for me, right? I think it's what's so fascinating is that we just as like people just get so caught up in looking for answers just everywhere outside of ourselves, everywhere. But almost every single time, you know what you want, you know what you need, you know what you want to say. You just have to make room to listen. And you have to ask yourself questions, and you have to you have to explore to figure those things out, right? Without the fear of failure. That's the other important part, right? And we're so trained to be scared to fail that we often don't make room. And I think, yeah, Jenna, you know, she just said, but like you got to let the love in, right? And in a lot of the same ways that the sometimes like grueling process of making art just cracks open these things inside of you and just like unlocks codes inside of you, and you just level up by accident just because you stared at it for so long, and you just asked, right? And the thing about journaling too is just like, so when I don't journal, I try to like force answers out of myself, right? I try to like figure it out. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just like, why do I feel this way? Like, what's going on? I need an answer right now. And when I that's a very aggressive way of moving through things. I'm feeling stuff I don't know, but I'm just like, you know what? Instead of like sitting down and being like, what do I feel? I'm going to try to find a solution to what I think I'm feeling. And then I'm going to create a whole life around this thing, the solution. But most of the time what happens when I finally give myself that opportunity to be vulnerable with myself, that's when I just release everything. And that vulnerability is that's the magic, right? That vulnerability is where the magic comes from. That's the magic, like that vulnerability and safety. That's the magic of community. That's the magic of intimate relationships. That's the magic of therapy, right? That space, that vulnerable space is where magic is. And we spend our whole lives waiting for other people to give us that magic, when you can be cultivating that magic inside of yourself, with yourself. That's really, like, I'm shaking right now, but I'm just like, that's what the power is. That's where the power is, in not just journaling, but in art, right? And then you get to use that art to share your magic with the rest of the world. That's where the power and the beauty of all of this is, you know? Okay, yeah.
Can I?
Yes, Jenna, I was just going to direct that to you because I saw you. I mean, I'm sure you agreed with everything that
Yo, let me just say that. Yo. No, like literally my intention for 2020 has been radical vulnerability. And that to me is really just stepping into these spaces, seeing yourself in the other person in Kapwa, and like letting yourself be vulnerable in these spaces, regardless of whether you know it's safe or not. You know, you're giving yourself a safe space to be that person, to show up fully, to honor who it is that you have been, are, and will be. And like, I don't know, just this conversation is just so amazing. I am so inspired by y'all. Like the wake up call that Zeus was talking about, I had one for myself when Hurricane Harvey hit, flooded my hospital. And I had to really ask myself what it is that I want to be in life, who it is I want to show up like for. And first and foremost, it was myself, regardless of how selfish, as Eunsil was talking about, it can be perceived as. And I think that really has to do with like honestly listening, honestly being vulnerable first with yourself. So that way you can be vulnerable with others, which will also open them up to their own vulnerability and humanity. And I think that can truly change spaces, can truly change how it is that we relate to one another and how it is we relate to the future, whatever that means. Like when I said let love in the chat, aside from fear, another wake up call was like this book that I checked out from the library, and it looked really cheesy, honestly. There was like this like white woman smiling like really hard, and she's like, yeah. Well, I forgot the title of the book, but there were these affirmations that I've had to really like, I have to pull them up. that I've had to like push for myself and to grow my own art practice. And these are some of them, is I love and accept myself unconditionally and wholeheartedly right now. I am perfect exactly the way that I am. Joy is my barometer for deep self-love. I inhale love, I exhale fear. I choose love over fear in every moment. My thoughts are my reality. I choose only loving thoughts that are going to deeply support and nourish me, and I open my heart to love. And those like have really changed me and made me be more vulnerable in these spaces. And I'm so excited to really met y'all, like even virtually, because yeah, we're all on the same wavelength and it's really exciting. And I already have my intention for next year, because even though I'm exercising this vulnerability in these spaces, I still have to remind myself to love bravely. And that's my intention for 2021, is to love bravely and to step in love. And even if I have love for myself, I really need to have more love for the other and more love for these spaces that I'm in. So,
I love the energy that we've created in this virtual space. This is amazing. And I would also like to plug, you were talking about exhaling the fear. We'd like to plug Kathleen's song, Just Breathe. Go listen to it. But yeah, talking about, love, and I remembered, Eunsil, you talked about how, having a baby changed you, and, you were accepting love before, but now you're learning how to give love. And, we're talking about vulnerability in the arts and stuff. Would you like to expand more on how you've used art and, how your life experiences have kind of shaped that?
I wasn't prepared. So, I mean, I love this conversation, and I was really, I was actually thinking about the vulnerability, how it made me a better communicator with my family. Even though I always feel embarrassed to cry in front of my family and my husband. But I think after that sort of mental vulnerable state, we became we understand each other better, actually. So I'm really glad to hear other people's experience in this vulnerability. And I like to mention that my experience with being a mother and having a baby, it really changed my perspective. And I feel like I can relate to other people in a whole, it's a different level. I was happy by myself. I mean, by just being with my husband without a child, but having a child just made me more vulnerable, for sure, because I have my baby. It's a word to me that I will die if I lose him. If just thinking about it, makes me really vulnerable. But then on the other side, I am really happy because of him. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Eunsil. That was very valuable to hear. And with vulnerability, there comes emotional labor. And I'd like to direct my next question to Jenah, actually, because you have experience being a healthcare worker. And I know 2020 has been a trying year for healthcare workers. But in addition to that, they've given themselves such emotional labor into their work. But this also applies to our community organizers, our grassroots organizers. They've put so much emotional labor into organizing this year. How do you think we we've also talked about community. How do you think we as a community can support them in this time while they're giving so much emotional labor for our benefit?
So what really struck me when I pivoted from the healthcare field into more community organizing and writing was that the emotional labor that I have had to give actually hasn't differentiated. It's pretty much at the same level of care and processing and space, right? Giving space. I think that what community organizers and leaders need to do more of is to really hold each other. And I mean that in ways where it's vulnerability, that there's softness, that there's tenderness within the interactions we have for one another. Because there's just so much of defense, offense that we've had to do with the outside world, with the political environment that's going on, that all we can do is be there for one another in a more like human way. I think that our communities have the potential to really step into that because of the collective tendencies that we've mentioned previously. I think that being able to balance that individualistic societal influence that we do have from being in the Western world also makes us understand that each of us are individual people with individual needs. And so, like, I think when we create those more intimate spaces that and intentionally do that we can help heal each other and help with the resilience that we need to tap into to keep going and to keep fighting the good fight. And that is also within the healthcare field. I feel that us as a community, it's a little, I wouldn't say like segregated, but a little like maybe alienated is more so, like between work and between social justice and et cetera. It's like you put on one hat, put on another, when you're really just one person doing these things in different roles. And so when we're able to realize that in those spaces, I'm a healthcare worker and a community leader, I think is where we can really tap into the strength of like the differences alongside of the similarities between those roles. And when we do that, it will, I don't know, it'll just make it easier. It'll make it easier to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep moving forward.
Definitely. I think, yeah, I agree with everything in that answer. I think, hearing you talk about how it's the same type of giving, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in community organizing, grassroots organizing, it's the same type of giving. And I think, we can do so much as a community to support them, as you said, and like just resilience. I'm remembering OCA's summit over the summer. It's been so long, but resilience was the theme for that. And again, I think if there's another word to pull from this conversation to describe 2020, resilience is definitely one of them. And I remember we were momentarily talking about, or you mentioned, in our political atmosphere, right now, that kind of leads me to mention, political consciousness. I know, Eunsil, your work, You Are So Naive, you said it suggested, and I can see that from your work as well, it suggests that people have this kind of political nature to them, even outside of a direct political context. So could you expand more on your artwork actually, and how this kind of reveals human nature and plays into our identities in general?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the work was inspired by listening to this politician saying, like, he whispers to other fellow politician, even though he is not saying important thing, just to make a scene, just to, be secretive. And I can see that, and I feel like I've definitely done that before to my family or to my friends, to be, I think it makes me safe. It made me safe, something like that. I kind of not differentiate, how do you say? It's like a kind of exclusive gesture to show our status and identity. And I think we do that through a lot of different ways. Like, it's just whispering is just a metaphor of this kind of nature. Definitely people don't whisper because it's not polite behavior, but I think this kind of gesture, I'm not talking about direct whispering, but this kind of gesture is becoming a phenomenon of our society through social media. When you see your friends and family, not family, but friends and acquaintance or people you don't know getting together and doing something that you're not aware of, definitely you get that feeling of, oh, I am not a part of this. And the use of social media is actually has this kind of gesture, like differentiate, like you want to be different, and you want to show that they're doing something exclusive to yourself and your community and group. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm talking about the feelings that we get from seeing those things, like how those things make you feel, and how those things make me feel not safe and sometimes anxious. And I wanted to overcome those kind of outer poles, like pulls, and just like be centered by myself no matter what. And that is difficult because we're such a social animal and political animal. We want to be part of our community, and that's very natural. But even though we don't really care, we still want to be part of something that doesn't matter to us. I think that's the one that I wanted to overcome and bring it up, as a political gesture of us. Definitely not a good habit of us. And then to realize those kind of things, I think we have to give room to ourselves and what's important, what's not.
Wow, that was an amazing answer, Eunsil. And just yes to that entire answer. But now, we have 15 minutes left until the end of our panel. So I'd like to kind of start to close out, leading from that question to our last question. I'd like to ask everyone here, not only how you explore your identity through your medium, whatever that is, whether that's journaling, poetry, traditional art. So how do you explore your identity? And through that exploration, through your journey as an artist or a performer or journalist, what old habits have you had to give up? Finally wrapping it up and, leading back to our theme. So your identity and what old habits have you had to give up? I'd like to start off with Zeus.
All right. Well, first, I'd like to give an early shout out to Matt Manalo. He's a panelist yesterday because he's the one who really invited me to the first guy to really invite me to join the group. He said, Zeus, would you like to be part of this Philippine X? And in that instant, I just said, yes, why not? Because I think that's about the time that I really want to go out there and be part of the community, be part of all this. Just what we're doing right now is so amazing that it would really help, just like what Jenah mentioned earlier, just being part of this community, already support each other, and we could move on. And I know a lot of us are, we're all affected with emotionally and all that, but it's not that I want to say you have to set this aside. It is there. You are being attacked, bombarded by so many issues from racial discrimination, being marginalized, and political things. Well, just like corruption is corruption. Whether you have the Filipino corruption, the US corruption, Korean corruption, whatever, everywhere there is corruption. It's the same thing with a different suit, with a different shell, with a different skin that comes with it in different languages, in different cultures. But then how do you handle those emotions? Well, handling those emotions, not just turning your head away. You have to express them. You have to, because you're affected. You have to put it down. One of the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and I was really devastated, emotionally affected, when I heard one of the politicians, of the corrupt politician in the Philippines, he used the money to buy what she said was a Kevlar helmet and issued it to the Philippine military to use for the battlefield. And it's not a Kevlar material. It's plastic. That I was so affected by that news. Just for her selfish gain, he would put all the lives of these soldiers at risk because they thought they would be protected wearing those Kevlar helmets. Where it's not. It's just a fake plastic helmet. But then I have to move on. I have to. That's why there's a good series that I have included in my website. It's called The Giggle. But Giggle said, you're national teacher, you can't do anything. You're trying to express it. I just have to put it there. It's different when you want to express something like, you want to put a smiley face. You just put a more like an Amazon logo on a circle. That's it. But when you try to express your feeling of really so frustrated, so mad, and we want to put it in lines, you just have to, because it is what it is. You just have to express, move on. That's why I call for this new artist with the community. I'd like to be with you guys. I'd like to share what I have went through, and it's not easy, but it's doable. I'm here. I was able to produce works that I really love, and the works that I know I could share to you guys, and works that I would say would immortalize all this happening and document it on pen and paper, on canvas. So early shout out to Matt. Matt, you dragged me here. I'll be here with you guys. OCA and everything else, AAPI, well, I'll be here for you. I'll share my works with you guys. I'll be here.
Jenah, yeah, thank you so much, Zeus. Jenah, would you like to go? Or Jenah?
Yeah, sure. It's how have I used my medium to sift through my
your
identity?
identity, and you can also relate this to giving up old habits or bad habits.
Yeah, so like I've always loved writing, and I think that has been a really big influence in my life, is writing and reading and absorbing these stories and these worlds that are not real for the most part. However, I've had to really give up how I used to write, who I used to write about, because before I actually used to write when I did write more fictional pieces, they would be about white characters. And I didn't realize it until I was older that that's what I was doing. But it was because that was all I was consuming. And so like with my awakened identity within writing, where I have like, I didn't creatively write for about 5 years, and that was including nursing school and being a nurse. I was very much in my logistical STEM side of my mentality. And when I started stepping into more communal spaces, I decided that maybe it's a good time to reflect upon the life that I've had to leave behind. And so like my identity and the way that I have grappled with it is through, well, one, I've always wanted my art to be understandable to my parents and my family, who are not the most well-versed in literature. Two, I've always wanted to come from a space where our stories get to be told. And so that's where I was able to really help Ate Christy Pozo in creating Filipinos in Houston, this book that is the first Phil-Am history book here in Houston, obviously. And listening to these stories of these people, I realized that like I need to first, in the way that kind of, so I can be more creative, make it kind of autobiographical and do these poems that have to do with family, that have to do with culture, that have to do with my experiences as a nurse and as I grow. And with that, I hope that other people feel empowered to do the same. I hope that like in everything I do and everything that I seek out in my work and within myself has to do with just empowerment, self-empowerment, empowerment of our people and our voices.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jenah. Eunsil, do you have something quick to add? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add that, you know, as I become practice art, I got better at accepting mistakes and use it as an inspiration. I think that's something that I'm still learning to do, but I'm trying to practice those kind of lessons in life. I think it's sometimes hard to accept the mistakes and get frustrated with the result that we didn't plan. But I think that's something that's important.
And I know, Jess, I know chat backstage, you said you didn't have any, but I would love to have all 4 panelists answer this. So anything to add, Jess?
The question was again regarding identity and giving up old habits. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna actually just say similar to Eunsil. I think I've been thinking so much about that fear of failure often, and how even someone who may have prided herself in being, you know, bold and vocal and all those things, at some point I went internal and I even hid from myself for a really long time because of a series of traumatic experiences that kind of put me in this space where I split between making decisions based on fear and making decisions based on instinct. And at a certain point, I just couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't tell when I was making a decision based on my gut, my intuition anymore. And one habit that I really had to learn to shift was understanding that my intuition will always guide me with love, and learning to sit down and listen to my intuition instead of listening to fear. So I would say that's like the one major habit I had to learn to break away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't think, I know we've talked a lot, but again, I don't think words can express how valuable this conversation was to each of us, to me, to the panelists, to everyone listening in. I think this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out the time to be here. That was our last question for the night. I'd also like to give space for anyone to, oh, there's the cat. I would like to give space for anyone to plug their works. I know, Jess, you have your journaling workshop. Again, please check that out, happening this Thursday. Yeah, is there anything that you guys would like to add before we close the night up?
Yeah. Actually, on the 18th, I will be in another live stream, but this time it's to help raise funds for typhoon relief in the Philippines. So if y'all follow me on Instagram, I'll be updating everyone on that.
Yes. If no one has anything else to say, I will plug Zeus's works. Please check out his amazing work at the Instagram website, Facebook, everything down below. Eunsil's work, the jewelry is absolutely gorgeous. Please check her Instagram out. You can also check everyone out on our website. Again, Jess's works, her journaling, and Jenah's poetry, and what am I forgetting? The StarryNiteArtsFest.com. Please go there to check out all of our panelists present right now and all of our workshops and panels later. And but that we'll expand on that later. And to our YouTube audience, definitely click the notification and subscription button down somewhere there. And yeah, I will hand it off to Trisha and Ria for closing out the night. Thank you so much, everyone.
You know, I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to not drop my mic, but place my mic down. Can y'all see that? Oh my God. Like,
y'all, it felt, yeah. I felt like I was in like a living room with y'all and we were having a conversation. I have my tea next to me, so I was just sipping tea, listening and feeling all of the energy that was emitting from the screen. Thank you so much.
Honestly, Trish, I don't know how you could sit because I was up, I was pacing, I was standing on my chair. I was snapping so hard. And like, girl, you are a smooth operator. Those transitions, thank you so much for facilitating that wonderful conversation. So wholesome. Like, again, everyone on that panel, everyone in that Q&A, everyone in that space, like, was vibing so hard. My heart, my emotions were, I was on a roller coaster, but that conversation was so necessary. Thank you folks who are tuning in and listening all this time. See how wonderful our community is. See how many stories and experiences we all hold. And that's just another reminder of like the wonderful things that are upcoming this week. And Trish, if you don't mind reviewing. Yes. Reviewing. No?
Absolutely. So tomorrow we have our film, Fighting for Family by Lan Win, and then followed by Amy Malkin's Healing Through Walking Meditation. And don't forget to go to Jess's workshop on Thursday, the 17th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. CST. Ria, did you want to talk about any of the other workshops, or did you want me to just go into the website?
Yeah, just go ahead and into the website. Just, okay, there's a lot of promotions, but go ahead, Trish.
All right. Please check out our website, y'all. There you can see our amazing lineup. You will see our vendors. You will see all their promotions. It's a full schedule. And just like tonight, I feel like the energy is just going to move through the week. So please, please, please join us. And thank you everyone for attending.
Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful morning tomorrow. And we hope to see some of you at the workshops, but also, as Chelsea mentioned earlier, like there is a live stream happening as well. So tune in on that and support to raise funds for Unity for Relief.
Also, I just got a text from someone real quick, and she said, please mention the Facebook group. Yes, we have an exclusive Starry Night Facebook group where we are giving information about the vendors and their promotions, plus all the artists. Please join our Facebook group. All right, y'all, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see you, cause I don't know what's in store. It's the kindness in your heart makes me keep wanting more. Thousands of miles apart, doesn't matter cause you're at heart. And when I look at you, what a work of art, brings me tears at the stars. So don't go away, I need you to stay. Don't you run away from me. Don't go away, I need you to stay. Don't you run away from me. Cause I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Na 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 na. And I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Doesn't matter the place, baby, in the ocean or in space. Cause it's about love, it's about love. I will be there someday. So don't go away, I need you to stay. Don't you run away from me. Don't go away, I need you to stay. Don't you run away from me. Cause I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. And I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Na 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 na. And I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Higher, baby, we higher. Take a flight with me, and then you'll see the love is so